Good afternoon, Mr. Zaidi. How's your day going?
It's going great. Please have a seat.
Thank you. So, you've had a pretty impressive streak of 3 straight playoff appearances.
Yeah, it's a nice streak. It's been rather disappointing, though. Haven't been able to advance as far in the playoffs as we wanted those past 3 years. So we're hoping to maybe switch some things up this year and get where we need to be.
Yeah, but you need to see the positives in your success. There's a lot of teams that don't make the playoffs for several years. I mean, think of the Pittsburgh Pirates, that 20 straight years of losing seasons.
Right, I suppose so. But, you know, with this organization, its storied history, our expectations are very high. So we just want to improve our team as much as we can and further ourselves in the playoffs. So who are you here to represent?
Well, today I'd actually like to just ask you some questions if that's all right.
That's fine.
Here, let me give you my business card, and would you care if I took some notes today as well?
Go
so
right
I can
ahead. That's
mull
fine.
those over later?
I might take a few myself.
Okay. So, who makes the business decisions? Is it just you, or is there anybody else that needs to be in here with us?
Initially, I may consult with a few people to see how they feel about it, because I have scouts, and they're usually pretty good of telling me what I need to know. But ultimately, it's my decision. It's my decision to sign players and determine contracts and things like that.
Great. So, can you describe your decision-making process for me? Like, what kind of timetable are we looking at here? And is there anything else that you may need to consider when making the decision to sign players?
Well, we would like to make all of our signings by the end of March, which, as you know, is the start of spring training. As far as the decision process goes, it's relatively simple. I look at all of the options that are available, and I evaluate the talent that we have scouted and that we have in our minor league system. And then, based on that, I'm trying to make a decision that best fits my organization.
Okay, so before we continue, I must ask, what's your budget like? About how much are you willing to spend to get to that next level of talent?
Well, money isn't a problem. We aren't re-signing a few players this offseason, which will lower our payroll. And as you know, we don't have a cap, and our team is one of the most frivolous spenders in the major leagues.
Yes. All right, well, then let's continue. Do you feel that you have a roster that can compete next year?
Absolutely. I feel like our roster that we have is set to compete with anyone. And with the signings we're looking at making this offseason, I believe that we will like our chances even more.
Yes, and with the success you've had over the past 3 years, I'd say that's a pretty safe assumption, too.
Definitely is.
So, how would you describe your current players? Is there anybody on your roster that you feel is kind of underachieving?
Well, in my eyes, I feel like there have been some underachievers on the roster. Some guys are just getting older, and there have been injuries as well. And I also feel like with our lack of offense at times, it seems like our lineup just gets too stagnant. It doesn't produce, and players just put too much pressure on themselves to try and produce. It causes them not to play to their full potential. I don't feel like we have anybody who hurts the chemistry of the team, though. We have never really had any problems with that, no disputes in the locker room or anything like that.
Yeah, that seems to be a common problem at a lot of teams who struggle offensively like that. Individuals start putting a lot of pressure on themselves to make up for the slack that the players aren't producing and tend to struggle a lot more when that happens too.
Exactly. I think that was a big problem for the team last year. We need more offense so we can avoid that problem again.
Yeah. So, do you feel like there's any holes on your current roster that you may need to address this offseason?
As much as I hate to admit, yes, I feel like our current roster does have holes that need to be filled. Like I said, we've had some offensive struggles at times. The lineup just doesn't produce for stretches during the season, and we need to eliminate that. We've also had bullpen issues. Our relief pitching is not where we'd like it to be. The positions that I'd like to add more offensive production from would definitely be second base and possibly another outfielder. If we could get more production from those spots, I feel like individual pressure throughout the lineup would just go away and everybody can just get down to playing baseball.
Yep. So we mentioned underachievers earlier. Are there any players you feel right now who are underachieving on your team earn a salary a lot higher than you'd like?
Yes. An example of this, which you probably already know, is Yasiel Puig. He's been injury prone since we signed him. And even when he has played, when he's healthy, he's not achieving as well as he did that first year. And after signing him for $4.5 million a year, his numbers have just steadily decreased, and he just keeps getting hurt. It's not productive at all for the team.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want from a player making that kind of money.
Not at all. We're really hoping he can turn it around and stay healthy this year.
So, how do you think that the holes in your roster have affected your team?
Well, I feel like it's cost us a chance at a World Series title. Like we've put a solid team on the field each season, but without these holes, I feel as if players would have played more free and easy, just got down to basics of baseball, less pressure to perform. If we would have produced offensively, you could really feel it once we got into the playoffs. Players were pressing at the plate to make up for the lack of offense in the rest of the lineup, those positions, and it caused them to really struggle. I feel like we need to avoid this, and if it was fixed, I think we would be able to put a World Series favorite out on the field next year, especially with our starting pitching as dominant as it is, possibly the best in the league.
Oh, no, I couldn't agree more with that point. If your offense was just at the next level with your starting pitching that you have, I would peg you as for sure the World Series favorites as well. So, for the players you feel are earning more than they are providing for your club, do you feel that it is hurting the morale of the players who are contributing more and earning less money than them?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it affects the play of those players because they're thinking about how much they give this team, how much they do contribute, and making less money than someone who's always either hurt, like Puig, or underperforming, again, like Puig. It puts a strain on them because they feel like they're not appreciated. It makes them feel like they're less important. And it definitely hurts their potential as a player and how much they could possibly grow with the team.
Yeah, and that's the last thing you want is players feeling like they're underappreciated.
Exactly.
So, how many more games do you feel like you could win if you eliminated these holes that are in your roster right now?
Honestly, the roster that we have, if we could just eliminate those holes, add some production throughout our lineup, get a solid second baseman who can hit, I feel like we could definitely make a championship run in the playoffs and possibly win 5 more games, give or take, a season if we could just fix those problems.
And that's a big improvement and a lot of potential there. So, if you could gain players at a reasonable salary who could potentially give you superstar productivity, how do you think that would boost the morale of other players who don't make what a superstar would make?
I feel like that would make the rest of the players play at the next level of their ability because they're not worried about, them producing and not making the money they feel like they deserve. When they see somebody who's giving that kind of production at a salary that isn't skyrocketed like some of the players in the league, like Pujols, I feel like that will motivate them to play even better because they don't feel like they're any less important than anyone else on the team.
And that's exactly what you mentioned earlier. They would feel just as important as the next guy, and that would keep the whole morale of the team up and just have consistently better play from them, too.
Exactly, which is what I want. I think it might have been a big problem for our team the past few years. It's really just held us down.
Yeah. So, if you could add a top-level player to your team, giving a steady presence of a leader and making a reasonable salary, whom can eliminate those holes in your roster that you were talking about, would this interest you to sit down and talk to me about your situation more tomorrow?
That is just what the organization is looking for. We need someone who can fill those holes in this roster and give more of a strong leadership role along to our veterans as well. I would really be interested in hearing what you have to offer.
Great. So what time would work best for you tomorrow?
I might have checked my schedule, but I think I'm open at 1:30.
Excellent. We can set up that if that works out for you.
Fantastic. Thank you for coming.
I'll see you then.